Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. We are now at the point of the season where we are talking to teams, clubs, groups, nutrition teams, just to give you an idea of the importance of being in community. I think one of the interesting things is sometimes people feel like they have to try alone because triathlon is an individual sport, but that's not the truth. There are so many ways to participate in this sport. And to be honest, teams, clubs, and organizations are probably the funnest, easiest, and best ways to kind of integrate yourself into a system because it allows you to build community and you can, quote unquote, suffer with your friends in the best of ways. Well, today I have a group with me that you probably are familiar with or have seen something about this group because they are the cool kids on the block, right? Their mission is to build community, engage, and challenge organizational culture of governing bodies and leadership within the sport while considering the entire ecosystem of touchpoints to increase enrollment of people of color, that's inclusive of athletes, coaches, and race directors, maintain brand equity, elevate performance, bridging the gap between recreational and elite athletes. If you know a team that grinds, they are generous with their time. They some gorgeous people too. Like they gorgeous. They be on magazines and such, like full billboard spread pages. They are G.R.I.T USA. I'm telling you. Welcome to Try Beginner's Luck, G.R.I.T. How y'all doing?
We're all pretty good. Pretty good.
Good.
Good. I had to use gorgeous because I was going with the G theme and I couldn't figure out another G word in the middle of all that. I was like, I'm just going to go with gorgeous. But these are all models. Y'all are literally all models.
Now, Faren's the model.
You are Lululemon.
Drew be cute too. Drew be cute.
Trimag, Lululemon, all this stuff.
Exactly. All right.
Just trying to keep up with y'all.
I love it. So I'm going to get you guys to introduce yourself. Many of you have seen Drew before because Drew was on earlier in the season. I think in May, we were talking to Drew about his balancing between criterium racing and being a triathlete, which he just finished North Carolina 70.3 with the PR. Come on, Drew. One time. Thank you. But we got to give it up the bum for you, Faren, Aimee. Who is I don't know the professional word, but it's bodybuilder.
I'm a bodybuilding athlete, yes.
Bodybuilding athlete. She's a model.
Pageant
She's a rattler.
A rattler.
You know, she went to Florida
Military.
She does everything. She's every woman for real. But you just placed first in your recent competition, correct?
Overall, 2 overalls.
Oh, excuse me. Overall.
Oh, so no.
Okay.
But yeah, I placed overall in all my categories.
All right. And that was at a bodybuilding competition, and that was in Washington, D.C.?
It was in Laurel, Maryland, yeah.
Laurel, Maryland. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations. You've been working hard, putting in that work.
Thank you.
Then we have the Marcus Fitz.
Yeah. Am I supposed to introduce myself?
I figured you should. I'm going to let you do that because, Marcus, you're not new to this. So, Marcus, tell us about who you are. And I think I'll do it, actually. So, Marcus is a consummate bridger. of people. Like he lives and thrives around community, and he's done it with multiple organizations. It's like, okay, this didn't work. Let me flip the script, let me figure it out, and let me do something different. You stay disrupting spaces. Yeah,
I
disruptor.
yeah, disrupt, but hopefully add add something to it and not just take. That's the biggest thing, is like, how do we add and elevate, the environment for everybody? And that's when we talk about the ecosystem. It's like, okay, this may have worked for a different group of people, but then how can we elevate it for the people who are facing like these barriers and hardships and entry into certain sports or activities that we enjoy? So whether it's modeling or triathlon or cycling, it's like, what are the entry points that we can hit?
Let's, I think, take a step back. We heard a little bit about your story, and I believe the first season of Try Beginner's Luck during like a summer series where we did a live on IG. And you told us about your entry into sport and how you came into triathlon with an by way of an injury, I believe. You're a
Right.
swimmer, and you saw that there was a lack of space for people of color, and you were like, hey, I'm going to form this group. You initially started with District Triathlon. I think that's when I learned about the group, and I was like, who is this group disrupting the scene in Washington, D.C.? I mean, fly, making it accessible, friendly, fun environment. And then you've elevated yourself to G.R.I.T USA and Equip. Talk about the difference between the organizations, because District Triathlon was a club, G.R.I.T USA is a team, and Equip is a cycling performance team. So give us the difference between the three and the purposes, because they all had very different purposes.
Right. So, I mean, overall, each organization is supposed to, you know, be about community, right? Be about creating an environment where people flourish no matter what skill level they're at. District Triathlon, we started as kind of like this grassroots organization that snowballed into a nonprofit organization that, had a membership and had a board of directors, and was really trying to leverage like grants and external funding to provide like programming, right? Like whether it's a swim clinic or just something to get people introduced to the sport, mainly focusing on newcomers. Now, we had a cohort of people who came into the club and they became veterans of sport, and we found out there's this huge gap. It's like we did workouts and people are getting left behind, or some people grew and other people didn't. So now we have this gray area where people, athletes, and members, they just were kind of stuck in this void. And that's where G.R.I.T, it wasn't G.R.I.T at the time, but it's like, how can we create like a bridge or a team that where folks are just get elevating in performance, and they're not quite elite, but they're also not beginner. So that was the birth of G.R.I.T as a race team. And then triathlon is a great gateway into many other things, whether it's trail running, endurance, crazy relay running, relay races, cycling, swimming, open water swimming. So the cycling team was kind of like a no-brainer. Drew had come to me and was like, hey man, I'm really into bikes. What's that look like? And I'm like, all right, well, not really trying to focus on a cycling team among all these other things, but I'll support you if you want to kind of lead that. And it's just been an evolution of love and growth across the board. And yeah, I think we found ourselves in a nice collective of disciplines and skill.
I love that. Where do you see G.R.I.T moving from here? Because even within the last couple of years, you've constantly made improvements and changes. So where do you see grit going from here? And then I want to ask, what does it take to be a part of grit?
Right. I mean, grit, like the past 3 years has kind of been like a consistent, like the ship, had to be built, before it could sail. So the first year or two was that building the ship, getting everybody on the same page. And we had a development program, which was the focus of grit. It was true, like come to the swim. Here's dedicated workouts. Here's these things in place to help you become the best athlete that you can be, focused around these feature team races. And I think we got to about year 3 and realized that now we have this broad spectrum even within the development team. So this year we kind of backtracked more into a club, right? It's hard to cater to long course athletes and to short course athletes and then the people in between. So what I decided to do was focus more on high school developmental programming and one-on-one athletes, and then revert back to now we have this team of people who have really built a strong bond with each other, and even more so on the cycling team, where they can kind of take everything they learned and help each other grow at this point, where it's not necessarily, it's a little bit more than a club, but it's not quite the development program that was more individually focused on the 20 athletes. That
Mm. So I like that. I love what you said in terms of having to build a ship. Obviously, with our world that we live in the insta culture, we want stuff instant, that success that's instant. And I think a lot of people even come in this sport thinking, oh, I can just instantly be good in triathlon and instantly do it. And I heard a lot of people and I'm just using Ironman 70.3 North Carolina as an example, because I've been reading some of the trends about people who just popped up there thinking that they could just do the race, not prepared or trained for it because they don't understand sport. And having been in a group or an organization where you can ask questions and learn, I think that's some of the benefits. So let's switch gears. We'll come back to what the goal is for grit, but I want to talk to Faren and Drew about their role in grit and what has what has it been like to be in a club and the importance it's been in your success as athletes? And any you can go, either one of you can go first.
It was a standoff. Who was going to come off mute first? Yes, I mean it. To me, it really is everything, because without the club, without the people, like whether it was in this organization called Grit or not, it's the reason that I am in these sports now. It's the reason I'm doing endurance sports and bike racing and triathlons now, because before this, I was like I was a team sports guy. I played basketball, other type of sports like that, and I was reaching that point in my life where I couldn't, I wasn't. I'm not going to be an NBA player, right? So like, I was like just trying to figure out like what am I doing, and I was just kind of dabbling and running and enjoying it and trying to push myself, but in along that along that journey, met Marcus, and met a lot of the people in Grit and the broader family, and like that's just I didn't even know what bikes were other than like a commuter and and like Marcus I think just told me like, hey, you should try a triathlon, and I was like, nah, I don't know, but like just kept staying around these crazy people who were like constantly on bikes and constantly running and swimming, and like it just kind of soaks in, and you go, well, like, well, let me try it. And like that just like all the little things that you learn from the community, and the encouragement, and just like I mean just like all the fine details along the way about the sport that make it different, like the points you made about like people thinking they could just jump in. You can. I feel like most people can just jump into a 70.3 or something like that and finish it. But also, if you're in a community like this, you can ask 2 or 3 questions that fundamentally change the way you prepare for that race and makes you faster or just makes you more comfortable. Yeah. So for me, it's the community is just like what makes it possible to begin with. Faren, what about you?
Well, as you can see, I'm in, one of the greatest teams in the world, United States Army. So for me, teamwork, giving back, being in a community is already just in the fabric of, my life. So I heard about district triathlon when I first moved here to DC. And I was like, what is this? I like a challenge. Let's go. So I met Marcus, and it's more so, I mean, you have the team, but when you meet the man behind the vision, behind the message, it becomes more than just a team. So anything for me personally, giving back to the community, showing the opportunities, showing, representation as, a Black female out here doing triathlons. When you're running by and other children of color looking at you like, oh my God, that to me, that's a huge impact. So but furthermore, just to challenge myself, like I can do this, I know my team is out there with me. I run by you, we're cheering each other on. And I can spot your kit and I can see you and we can cheer each other on. So it's just knowing you're not out there by yourself that gives that extra edge. But more so for me, it was the whole community aspect and getting out there, bringing the race experience. We put on our own races, our helping kids with their sprint, little sprint triathlons, what is like a splash and dash or something like that. But we've done that and we've proven it can be done. And I don't think that's something that the DMV has seen like ever. So the fact that we were doing it, I was like, I want in on this. I want a piece of that pie. And so transferring over to G.R.I.T was a no-brainer, just to follow Marcus, support the team. I've taken more of a cheer squad, like a support role this year, just because all the things I've had going on personally. But with my social media presence or just my community presence, I always have G.R.I.T on. I always have something to represent and keep pushing that button. And I have people that are like, well, what's G.R.I.T? Great question. Let me tell you about this, And so one of my bodybuilding sisters, she joined the team. So she's on G.R.I.T now. She just completed her first sprint triathlon. So the message is getting out there. She saw I was doing it. She's like, I want to try that. Come on, say less. Join the team. And so to have just one join off of your own word or your own merit, it meant a lot. So that's what it means for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know that's Ebony. Shout out to Ebony, who's a first timer, just finished her first race. I think it was the Baltimore Triathlon that you all did. And she spoke about that, like and being in the bodybuilding and wanting to know about G.R.I.T and said, I wanted to join, and I think joined mid-season. So there's so many ways we can join. And you mentioned something about support or cheer squad, which brings me to my next question. What makes up the fabric of good club members? Because I think that's important to address. So go ahead.
I'm sorry. I mean, it's just showing up for others. Like, it can be me, but you have to show up for others too. If you're here, if it's local, come support, come cheer, like do something. And so just to kind of backtrack a little bit on Ebony, I mean, again, her first sprint triathlon, and yes, we all could have just dove right in there with the fast swimmers and just taken off on our own race. But all four of us that chose to race were like, nah, we're gonna swim with you, Ebony. Like, we're gonna stand right here and swim with you. So to have four of us start at the swim line and we're like, let's get it, and like making sure she was okay, like getting acclimated in the water, that means so much more than just getting out there to get your time. Like, I'm not here to win. Do I want to win? Fine. But it's her first triathlon. So to give that person that support and, put our arms around her, you're not starting alone, you didn't finish alone, is the best feeling in the world.
Love that.
Yeah, I'll add to it too. It's like, it's not always just the in-person stuff too. I mean, like there's this sense of like, this past week when I was racing, I knew my teammates were tracking me and cheering me on. And there's like this in the back of your mind, you're just thinking like, I know they're kind of like pushing me through this from like 1,000 miles away. And just that kind of support and encouragement is like what makes this community great and what makes our teammates great. But also, half the stuff I was wearing and using through that triathlon was from the team, like from different people on the team. I had arrow leg sleeves from one guy. I had a wetsuit from Marcus. I had a nutrition plan from probably like 5 different people that I mashed together. I mean, it's just like resources for each other, just like that type of support is really what I think makes the team and the teammates so great.
You didn't want my pink leg, my pink leg sleeve, and I feel personal. I took that personal. You know, I was
I
gonna bring
wasn't
you my
trying to
pink capture.
I wasn't trying to show out too much.
Okay, okay, that's fine.
What about you, Marcus? Because you probably come from it from a different vantage point as the leader and trying to get people. What are some of the qualities and attributes you like to see in members?
Yeah, I mean, like one of the things we try to say all the time is, it's you have to pour back into the cup. Whatever you take, you got to pour back in. And I think like the sport, any kind of individual sport really, if you look at just from an organizational level, it's a lot of taking from a cup. And the sport can't exist like beyond grit and all that. The sport can't exist without people contributing back, and that involves like volunteering at a race. And a lot of these races have a hard time, finding volunteers, and they really lean on the community. And it's the same for clubs. It's an expensive sport to participate in, but it's also an expensive sport to operate. And so like the amount of work and effort that people don't see, like there's a lot of work that goes into it that people don't realize and see, whether it's brand, alliances or partnerships or sponsorships. So for anyone out there, if you have a team, find time to just give back. Like time is a better resource sometimes than money. And some people it's they don't realize that until like someone pulls them aside. So, contribute time if you enjoy it.
Can I add to that? Along with the contributing time, like we just did the Run Hope Work 5K, and I mean Grit members came out, all hands on deck to support Lloyd and his team and the community. So that was a great showing for Grit, and just something that's just what we do. You ask for help and we're going to come out. So that again points back to the point of having time.
There are different arms of grit. So I heard a couple of different things. You guys volunteer together, you do cheer squad together, you have a means to share resources, kits, things of that nature, what you need to participate in sport. But then there's the aspect of building the brand, the operations part of it on the back end. I think that's the part that people don't realize. And if people understood the work that perhaps goes into the team, maybe it would change their perspective about how they contributed in the parts that they could play. So, Marcus, I want you to go a little bit deeper, or Drew or Faren, go a little bit deeper in terms of the behind the scenes that people don't know that makes a team and or club function at a high level.
All right, well, I'll kick it off.
Come on, kick it off.
I guess there's a bit of social equity, right? It's like over time you build what I call social equity, and maybe it's a normal thing, but it's like you have to put it out there what you're doing and what you want, and it's like what at the end of the day, it's about business, as much when you're looking for brand partnerships, coming from a portion of, okay, I do these things for my community, I have these members, but what's the mutual investment? Because most of these brands, they want a return on their investment, even if it's for a good cause. So I think like as long as we're aware of that, I think the conversation becomes easier. And so like if we're this team and we're breaking down these barriers and we need wetsuits, what's that conversation is, okay, we need wetsuits, all right, but also you get to your brand gets to be on a team that is in the trenches, on the ground, doing the things. They're not necessarily the fastest, but they're working to be there, but they're also bringing everybody else with them. It's not just one or two superstars and then they're just focused on racing, but we're like volunteering, we're doing X, we're putting on programs, we're putting on clinics, and we're on the podium. I think you have to have kind of everything as part of it. It just can't be good deeds, and it just can't be racing fast. You need a little bit of everything, and I think that's the start of it. And then social media presence. It's like, how are we supposed to get the word out? People have to be on social media. I hate social media. People think I like it, but that's just part of the game, and part of the conversation is, representation. You have to see it. It has to be talked about, it has to be discussed. Otherwise, how are you going to create change if you just do everything in a silo? So that's people are scared of it, but it's part of the game.
People are scared of it. And yes, it is part of the game. When you talk about those silos and making those changes, again, I go back to this disruption. What are some things that perhaps needs to happen for more greater change for athletes across the board in various cities? Because G.R.I.T, if I'm understanding, G.R.I.T is not just a local club, it's a national club. And I think that's why I wanted to highlight G.R.I.T. It's because it's a national club, meaning anybody from across the continental United States, and perhaps it could be international. There might be some international members in G.R.I.T, I don't know. But yeah, so I guess my question is, what more needs to happen on a local level or national level, since G.R.I.T is a more national club?
Yeah, we international now. We got representation in Brazil, UK. We all over the board. But I think the conversation looks like it's it's starting with the things that every club needs, right? And not just like a particular group. I think if we tackle like, okay, what are all the barriers that every club is facing, and address it, because there's a lot that whether it's DC Tri Club, District Multisport, we all kind of face certain similar issues. And it's not necessarily awareness, because I know that's a word that gets thrown a lot, is like there needs to be more awareness of sport. I think a lot of people know about it, but it's about, I think the better word is appreciation of sport. So we have to get people to appreciate it, right? To actively participate, to give back. And I think appreciation will go a longer way than awareness. I think we're at that threshold where that term needs to switch. But how we do that, I think there needs to be more involvement from the governing body, USA Triathlon, because they need to have more boots here, or we need to have more voice in what they're doing, from an organizational standpoint, because it's the clinics, right? The programming. How can we get, more sanctioned events? How can we get more, like we did the Ride to Inspire on the Jefferson Memorial, and they did a great job of putting it out there, but no one really appreciated like the effort that was behind it. Even I didn't, to be honest. And then when I got out there, I was like, oh wow, this is like incredible. This is an incredible thing. But we just need more of that so people can appreciate like the community, because it was for everybody. It wasn't just for G.R.I.T. So yeah, I think that would be a start.
Drew or Faren, do you guys have anything you want to add to that?
How do you follow that? I mean, the only thing I'll say is like it's not even really related, but it's like I think this is why G.R.I.T attracts people. Like it looks cool on the outside, probably, but once you get inside, you see like how deliberate everything is, like how thoughtful everything is. And I think Fitz called it like social equity, but it might be like endurance space equity. I don't know. It's just like Fitz in particular has been around this space for so long, and been so thoughtful about the way he builds these communities and makes moves, that I think once people get in the community, you recognize that, and that's what really keeps you around and like encourages you to do more. When we were talking about the cycling team, right? Like when we first started thinking about what that was like, it was easy for me to be like, I want to start a cycling team, but I really was like, I want to start a cycling team that is part of Grit or tangential to Grit or shares the same like philosophy and thoughtfulness as Grit, because that's what I see as has made the team successful, but also made it impactful for the individuals in the community. So, you know, that's yeah, that's my contribution to the question, maybe.
No, that's good. Marcus, when you talk about the space appreciation, I know that it comes from a deeper well because you care a lot about this sport and this space. You wouldn't do the things that you do if you didn't. And I think I'm going to add it takes people like you who care deeply that want to keep others motivated, even when they don't want to continue on. So give yourself pat on the back for staying in the game through the ups, through the downs, the twists, the turns. You've remained consistent, and the love of triathlon and multisport and cycling has been at the core of it all. And I think that too adds to the nucleus of what makes your organization, no matter what you are a part of, attractive to people. With that, Ride to Inspire, I saw the pictures from that event and was like, man, it looked like that was a busy weekend around DC and just local areas with triathlons, ending and things of that nature. What would it be to have more events like that for organizations to tag on and to know about it, perhaps at the beginning of a season or the culminating end of a season, that we can bring more things back to the DC area like that to build awareness and appreciation?
Yeah, I mean, it takes people to just act on their ideas, right? There's really no idea that's dumb. It's like, okay, like put it out there. I mean, it could sound, just not fully fleshed out, right? But you need people around you to help execute the ideas. And I think that's where my strength is I like to do, right? And I think a lot of other people on the team, like, they're doers, and let's just take an idea and run with it. And I think that if other people had that mindset, like doing a race in DC isn't that complicated. It may not be nation triathlon big, but it's not that complicated. Like we were able to host races, and other groups are like, how'd you do that? How'd you get the permits? How do you do X, Y, and Z? I was like, I just asked. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But I think that's just step one. It's just like someone just has to say, all right, I got this idea, I want to do it. I need to talk to the governing body that sanctions that, whether it's local governing body, the permitting office, USA Triathlon for sanctioning, insurance, et cetera, or just reach out to other race directors who have already done it. Just be like, hey, I got this idea, I just need a little help. But there's so much room for ideas and partnerships and collaboration, and people should know that they just don't have to lean on their team. This is a community, and we can lean on other teams, and other platforms that people have established to kind of make something happen, whether it's, a brand or a club. And like Ann Bailey, who was the kind of like the brainchild behind Ride to Inspire, that kind of brought everybody together and brought all these teams together, and it ended up just being two of us that kind of were like, oh, we can do it. A lot of people are saying it's a dumb idea, but there isn't any other thing happening, so why not? Let's just do it. And it ended up being great despite the weather. And we're gonna set it up to do it again.
I love it. I love it. Um, how does one become a member of Grit? The second part is, what constitutes a season? Because I feel like every year it gets pushed up, not just groups, they're like pushing it up to like September, October. I'm like, wait a minute, let people breathe a second. So if somebody wants to be a part of Grit, what is the process to be a part of Grit?
You can't talk about Fight Club. No, rule number one. It's not really, we don't really recruit for the team. It's like, we're not like, hey, join our team. We just recently started doing it this year when we started transitioning more into like a club.
Mhm.
But before, it's like, okay, I have a friend, it's more word of mouth, and here's the application. And traditionally we had done interviews. So we would interview every single person just to see if it was a good fit. It wasn't based on skill or times or records or whatever, but it was just based on heart. And like, we weren't looking for people who would show up for themselves, and we're all adults. It's like, we're not trying to have to call you and be like, hey, are you ever going to show up to a workout? Hey, are you ever going to show up to a team hangout? Hey. We just want people who are taking the initiative to just to be there because they want to. So that's kind of how it works. And at this point, as we're scaling up a little bit, the cycling team has a completely different process. It's, you have to be at the rides. We have a bunch of open community rides out of our shop on the weekends, so we kind of pull people from that pool. It's more of like a word of mouth. If kind of thing. We don't do any recruiting from that end either.
You just got to be in the in crowd, essentially.
Well, yeah, it's I think that's kind of, if you have to ask, right? Or if you have to search for people, they're typically not a good fit.
Mm.
So that's just kind of how it's worked in for the past 3 years. And in terms of the seasons, we were doing the season versus year thing, and now it's getting confusing. So we're just sticking to years. So we're going into year 4.
So year 4, starting January to December.
Yeah, January to
Okay.
December.
Okay. So I get kicked out in December. That works. That works.
You'll never get kicked out, Mashonda.
Whatever. Whatever. I'm not a cool kid. I'm an older cool kid, right? So that's what I was going to ask. Is there an age limit with Grit? Like, because you guys seem to be like the young, popular group. So if somebody was older, how would they come and be able to fit in with the group atmosphere?
It's a good question. We have one father. Well, at many years, actually, we have one older member, who came in through our high school program. But I mean, I think it's a culture thing, right? It's as long as people mesh with the culture, there's no issue. There's no age restrictions or anything. We would love to have a wide range of age diversity.
True. You, again, when we're talking about Grit, the population that Grit serves is multicultural, but predominantly African American. If there were other people, which Grit has a lot of nationalities on the team, how do you feel the culture is being a white male on the team? Because I mean, you're a vibe. So I'm just, I want people to know that all are welcome. So tell us about that.
Yeah, hot seat question, right? No, I mean, I think that was important to me as well. And it's just, like diversity in thought and experience and all those things. And I think that's a culture that that grit has, and that doesn't exclude me as a white male, right? And that's yeah, I think that was a really important part of both where like me joining this team, and then also like the same way that we built the cycling team as well. I mean, we want to carry that throughout and try to create more representation for everyone. And yeah, I mean, I feel comfortable. I'm accepted. I get picked on because I have an Android phone and not because I'm white, and or whatever else, right? I mean that that that's really like that's really what it is. I mean, you know I don't know what else to say. I feel like it's really just kind of that simple. Is that it's really about the culture itself, and that we don't exclude people no matter what. But there's like the deliberate like inclusivity piece, no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely need to switch your phone, but that's another story for another day. Okay. Faren, what do you want to add or contribute to this conversation? Because I think as a Black female in the space, not only just Black female, but you come in the space and you have presence instantly. Why? You come in, you shaved head, statuesque, like bam, I'm here. So what is it like for you?
For me, I don't know. I mean, it's a very great space. Like I said earlier about representation and just being like, a Black female. Yes, I can get my hair wet, yeah, it's okay. I'm not concerned with, what society wants me to be concerned about. Like I'm out here to get it and I'm out here to represent. And more so like you can challenge yourself, get out there and push yourself to do something physical, do something athletic. And you don't have to be a triathlete. You can be great at swimming, be great at biking, be great at running, or just be great at something. But just to show, you too can be out here doing this. And so the sprint triathlon was an all women's race. And so for me, I was like, oh, that I like it because it's not as, too aggressive with the males, not like you guys, but just to having that women's empowerment, seeing other Black females out there as well, and kind of having that initial, connection with someone that you don't even know. I don't even know you, but we're here and we're sisters in this sport, and we're gonna get through this. So that's what my takeaway is from that.
How does grit prioritize balance? Is that something that you guys help? I see a lot of smiles like, balance? I don't know. But how do you guys help the members balance training and life commitments? Are there conversations that you guys have around that?
I know for me personally, it's routine. That's how I live my life. I have a routine. I have schedule, time management, and just following the plan. I think a lot of people aren't used to having a routine, or aren't used to having a program, or aren't used to having a plan. So they're like, oh wait, I gotta do what? Yeah, it's like follow the plan. So it's just bringing that structure of triathlons or any kind of training that you have, to get a program and to follow that program, time management wise. And that transfers over for me and into my personal life as well. It's like, okay, here's my task or here's my plan. Let's just follow it, bite the elephant piece by piece and you'll get it done. But it's just bringing that structure, in general, to someone's life of like, okay, I have a break on this day. I have a run on this day. I have to go swimming X amount of distance on this day. So, and people feel good when they can accomplish and check off these tasks on their program or their plan, especially when following the meal plan. It's like, oh wow, I've been in a nutritional deficit trying to do these things. And so now that I got an actual structured plan, I feel healthy. I can power through this. I'm not feeling drained, or I'm not, hurting myself just to go swimming or running. Now your food is catering to what you're trying to do, or your nutritional plan is catering to what you're trying to do. And that's with anything. So I think it helps people to formulate like, oh, wow, I can put this into my regular life too, to bring myself a plan, a routine, and have some order in life.
So with that, how does the team communicate? Like if people are having challenges, is there a team email chain? Like how do you all communicate to keep the community tight as a tight knit or informed?
We use Discord as a chat forum is our main communication platform. Then we have like some team emails that go out. And then for next season, we've integrated a like a member platform that was created from scratch just because we couldn't find anything that could do what we wanted. So now we have a forum that is pretty much can do everything from race management to internal emails. So we'll be using that against Discord. And if any other teams are listening to this and they want to try it out, it's called Club Some, and you can sign up and collect memberships and manage everything. So it's a new tool out that will be a huge benefit.
And that's Club, CLUBSUM or SOME?
No, SUM, Club Some.
Club Some. All right. Cool. Innovative, disruptive, building to suit your needs. I love it. Speaking of race management, how do you select team races? Is that a group conversation? Like, does Drew say, hey, I want to do, I'm just saying North Carolina 70.3 because I'm doing this. Or do I want to do Kinetic, Lake Anna, or Delmo X, Y, and Z? How do you guys select races, especially now since you're an international team?
Yeah, so everybody will have their own race schedule. They'll have their own races that they do, but we'll have a short list of team featured races that the team will support. So historically, there's always 2 travel races and then 4 to 6 local races. So something that people can drive to, or maybe it's a short flight. And so what will happen is, we've done it different things, or it could be a Google form or a thread in our Discord where people just like all the races that they want to do in the year. And then we'll collect them and then we'll vote. So we'll have a Google form and all right, vote on the international races and then the vote on the local races, and whatever races get the most votes wins. And that's how we pick. It's a very democratic selection process.
I mean, I would expect nothing less.
trying to it's like the only way to be as fair as possible.
Yeah. So you have the voting process to select the team races, whether it's international or local. What are the benefits? Like, I know you mentioned that you guys are reverting back to a club, so taking a step back to a club versus the team and then the club aspect. So now it's just 100% club. But what does that entail in a club? What do people get as a part of being a member of a club?
In terms of like a like a tangible thing, or
Yeah, I would say tangible. Like I know that I'm gonna just say that the development team that you had, they got like probably dedicated race plans, et cetera. But now that you're at a club level, is it just a social club or do they also get plans, discounts, et cetera?
yeah, I mean, you get team discounts, and we're not taking away discounts. I think the biggest thing is like the very intentional training, right? So before, it was like dedicated swim lessons, and we had reserve lanes at various pools, and dedicated bike rides and brick workouts and different things that were geared towards a build throughout the season. And some of that stuff will be going away with the club formation, just because it's too much time and too many people and different levels of skill or distance, right? So, but the normal club benefits, still remain the same outside of the dedicated in-person workouts. That's really the only thing that changed. And then there's like a general plan. So everything builds from the team. Like everything is typically centered around the featured A race of the season. So it's like maybe like one year it was like Maryland State Championship, and I think it was like in Rock Hall, and another year was what was the one in Virginia? Rev 3 race. So it's like a half in an Olympic. So we'll choose it. The training's typically geared towards whatever the team's A race is for the season. And that's would be like peak race. So somewhere probably June or July, maybe even August, depending on what the race is.
Okay. Bringing my other friends back into the fold, Faren and Drew. I can't not have you on the show without giving a 2-second or a 2-minute spiel about your first race. And then I would like for you to share the best part of being with a group and the importance of being in a group.
I'll go ahead. And I told this story about my first race on my other episode, but my first race was, I literally had no idea what I was doing. Somebody signed me up to do this. I had a borrowed bike. I swam. I swam in basketball shorts. Went to the locker room of the gym, changed clothes, like dried off, did a whole thing, came back out, got on the bike. Went back to the locker room, changed again. Like that was my first race, first experience. It was incredible. Like it introduced me to the sport, but the difference in this team is, I'll point back to what I said earlier, is just knowing that I shouldn't do this in basketball shorts, and that I shouldn't go to the locker room, or, like that. I learned that there was a thing called a tri-kit, like one suit that you wore the whole race, and that it was okay for you to get out of the pool and get on the bike while you were still wet. Like, to me, I was like, you're crazy. Like, I'm not doing that. I got to dry off first. Like, all these things. Like, no, you're gonna be fine. And I think just that's just something that you soak in from the community and from the team. That's it for me.
That, I want to say that's institutional knowledge, right? That's knowledge that you wouldn't get. I just spoke to a beginner.
Right.
Her name is BOA. She's a first timer. We gave a scholarship to her, or race reimbursement, because of Fund Her Try for a demo sport, the women's Philadelphia triathlon. And she was just like, I didn't know that I had to finish doing this wet. She was like, I was like, I'm wet. So that's a real thing, y'all. And you've heard it because that episode came out not too long ago. And for those of you who want to go back and listen, it's episode 80 that Drew gets to tell his full story. So that's episode 80. If you want to go hear Drew's full story. All right, Faren.
So my first try was the Springfield sprint triathlon. It was a pool swim, bike, and a 5K. And I think for me, what was driving my motivation was, like I said, I like to self-challenge, do self-challenges or whatever. I'd already been kind of training already with the team. Somebody let me borrow their, like, it was more like a cycling kit than a tri kit. So I had on the shorts, but when I was swimming, I just had on like a little sports bra or whatever. Like it was real janky. But I think for me, it was a lot of us on the team. It was our very first try. So it was maybe like 5 or 6 of us. So we were already out there struggling together. And then my parents came to my first try. The team might not know this, but my dad just beat cancer. So him being out there like we were at the finish line, like just crying that shit out. Cause I was like, that means a lot to have not only my team support, but my parents out here, with their little signs holding it, yay, district try, and it's just that whole experience of just being surrounded by others that, we want to see each other win. We piecemeal it, like, hey, you need this, like throwing things across, like, here's a little tool or whatever you need, or here's a shirt, or here's a kit, like what Drew said, you don't know what you don't know. Like I didn't know about kits. I have a kit. They were like, yeah, wrong kit. That's a cycling kit. And I'm like, oh, okay, say less. So, but I got through it, right, with the help of my team and the spirit of the team. And so that really just it was absolutely one of the best races to date. Yes, I've done an Ironman, but I think my first race is still going to always be my favorite race, just for having my parents, all the first timers out there, and everybody just cheering and pulling together to make sure we all had the resources we need to struggle through this together. But we all made it, so it was.
Oh, that's beautiful. And congratulations to your dad. What a blessing that is to beat cancer, the disease that attacked his body. He overcame that. So shout out to your father and your first time. Come on. Now, Marcus, you guys might know his story because he was on our first season. We did an IG Live series. So I appreciate Marcus's support from year one, day one. You can check that out. That's a replay that we did in the summer series to just go way back to the first season in 2022. So, Marcus, give us a refresher on you and your first time and just the importance of team club work.
Man, seems like so long ago. It was what my first try was almost 10 years ago, so 9 years ago. It was the nation's triathlon, and I signed up for it because I was going into knee surgery. I was getting ready to have my second knee surgery, and my surgeon was like, "Go pick something that you can get strong for, go train for." And I was like, I don't know. I think I was on an Eventbrite, and Nation's Triathlon popped up, and I was like, all right, well, this seems fun. So I did it, and I was hooked. And all through the recovery process, I was just like, man, like this is something that I would love to do again. And so my recovery was about a year long, and I everybody asked, I was like, no one knew what a triathlon was. And I was like, wow, like there's this thing, like nobody knows what it is. It's crazy. I was like, I don't want to do it by myself next time. Um, so I had a couple friends that were down to clown with the tri thing, but they didn't know how to swim. So throughout my recovery, I did a lot of swimming, and I had a group of friends that joined me, and then more and more people started joining, and that was kind of like the first group of what would become District Triathlon. And then I guess 6 months into it, we probably had like 60 people come into Tacoma Aquatic Center trying to learn how to swim and just mess around and have some fun after work in the water. And we're like, all right, well, we got a thing. Let's let's call it something. And we ended up picking Hagerstown Triathlon. That would be my first race once I was able to actually like run and do. And that was the start of this whole triathlon journey. Was in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Mm. And importance of a team.
They got me through it. I mean, I honestly wouldn't have been able to recover. It was a really hard recovery, a lot of tears, a lot of pain. The doctor's like, you're probably never going to run again. And just wasn't willing to accept that. So I went, a little overboard with training and personal training. I think I ended up putting like maybe another 50, 60 pounds of muscle. I just looked like a meathead. And so like the rest of the time was trying to figure out how to slim down, and the people around me really kept me grounded, and without them things would definitely be different. I don't know how, but they would be different.
I love
So
it.
community, we did it. We did it together, and a lot of those people are still around.
Yeah. Does grit stand for anything?
Who's gonna say it? Who's gonna say it? GRIT stands for grinding relentlessly improves talent.
Grindingly, relentlessly improves talent.
Sort of. Yeah. Grinding relentlessly improves talent. There you go.
Oh, grinding relentlessly improves talent.
Yep.
Okay, grinding relentlessly improves talent. Ew.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Rapid fire questions. Um, hmm. This or that, club or team? Do you prefer a club
Team.
or a team? Okay, team for you, Drew.
Team.
Team, sure. Yeah, we on a team. I don't know.
You could have said a club.
Club sandwich, yeah, but team. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm hungry. Angry.
All right. Cheering with signs or with cowbells only?
Signs. I like signs.
Cowbells.
Marcus?
I said cowbells.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
No.
Yeah. Cowbells.
Okay. All right. Volunteering. Do you prefer aid stations? Volunteering. Do you prefer aid stations or being a stripper, like a wetsuit stripper?
Stripper.
I
No,
was like, how much money we talking?
I ain't trying to be responsible for people's wets. So I'm gonna be on
Yeah, aid station.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too much responsibility. A
Yeah,
station.
I'm not ripping anybody's suit. Aid station.
And I'm probably eating some of those oranges and apples and stuff, like bananas, while I'm at it. Yeah.
Snacks.
Yep.
There's snacks at aid stations, so yeah.
Okay. So since you like the aid station, what would a grit aid station vibe consist of?
Music,
Oh yeah. Music, cowbell,
banner,
speaker, megaphone,
signs.
champagne.
Oh, the confetti poppers.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
People like the confetti poppers.
Okay. And we don't let anyone leave the show without this question. But I'm switching it up for the team's sake. Do you pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break or pee in wetsuit only or all of the above?
All the above. I'm peeing on everything.
Wetsuit. Wetsuit.
I will pee on everything, but I've never peed anywhere but the wetsuit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got so comfortable peeing on a bike. It's not even funny.
I mean, do you handle other business on the bike since you're so comfortable peeing? Because I mean,
It was a challenge. Like I had to practice. I did go to Haynes Point to practice peeing on a bike. Not my proudest
It's
moment.
hard. It's
but how
hard.
did you?
I had to be really deliberate. Like I knew I had to pee in the water, and I was like, if I just can't do it, I had to like force myself. It's not just like a natural thing, I think.
Not. So there's a technique. There's a technique to it.
So can you tell us a technique?
So you slightly stand up like you about to pedal dance, but then you kind of like
Toot that thing back.
like get ready, and then you gotta like coast a little bit, and then relax, and then it happens. It's magical. But will say, unless you're an evil person, do not do it on a downhill. Because whoever's behind you going to get all of it.
Well, with that said, thank you.
Anytime.
You know, there's somebody who needed to understand what it takes to pee on the bike, because that's important. Depending on you might not need it at a sprint race or an Olympic, but you might need it at a middle distance or a long course. So there's techniques and there's always a first time for everything. And so we just appreciate Team Grit as our first team of many to come on the podcast this season. And so I'm just really grateful. I think it's so important for community and to just get plugged in. We don't have to do life alone, period. And no matter what you can contribute, be honest with yourself, be honest with the people who you're on the team with, whatever you're going through. You know, groups can help you get through, like Marcus, you know, helped him recover well. It helped him recover well, or it can help you get through grief, or it can just help you be better because you're challenged with people who are going to push you to the next level. So teamwork definitely makes the dream work, but only when you grind relentlessly improving talent. That's grit. That's Grit USA. You can check them out on all the social medias. And you want to give your social media handle?
Yeah, it's at grit.usa on IG. We have a Facebook. I think it's just Grit USA. Don't really use it. And then you can find us on the web, on the line at www.gritusa.club, not .com.
Hey, because they a club now.
But they don't have a .team, so.
I know. I was just making a joke. But all right. So whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win. Get out there, find a club, search for somebody or team, somebody, friends, so that you don't have to try it alone. That's it for us. We're out. Peace. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win.